Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Instagram, on Twitter, Pinterest, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. I'm excited to be sharing with y'all today some of my favorite ideas for kindergarten. Before I do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Jazz History Month and some things you might incorporate there, some books and resources you might want to consider. But we're going to just jump in and get right to it. So if you hear me talk about like a resource or a book or a puppet or something today, and you're like, where can I get that? There's a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links and things that I share in these videos, these Monday videos. So if you go to my blog and hit the video tab, or if you just click the link at the bottom of the caption for this video on Facebook or YouTube or my podcast or Instagram, you can click my link in profile. You'll find it. You can go straight there and get all the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm talking about several books today, and so if you go to my Amazon ideas list page, you can buy straight from Amazon if you want, or you can just go to Amazon, get the ISBN, get the author name, get all that information, and then go and buy it at a used book store or a used book website or lots of different places. You don't have to buy it from Amazon, but if you want, the option's there. And I like Amazon because it does have the ISBN, it does have a preview and all of that. So even if you're not going to buy it from Amazon, you can look at it there and sort of get a little bit more information about the books and all that sort of stuff. So that's linked there if you're interested. Okay, cool. I talked about all that stuff. I want to start talking about Jazz History Month. Right. Sorry. There's a Teachers Pay Teachers sale starting tomorrow. I knew I forgot to write something down. So if you're interested, check it out. It should just be Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, which would mean tomorrow, so the 6th and 7th. And you can get resources up to % off, depending on who you go to. My store is going to be discounted, so you can go and find that. Any resource you're like, oh, he's talked about that, you can get it now on sale. So go check that out in the next couple days. Okay, Jazz History Month. There are so many things usually that come up around this time of year, concerts and honor choirs and all sorts of stuff. This is a unique year where we aren't going to have a lot of that stuff in person, so let's focus on some of the great content that we can. So Jazz History Month is a great, cool opportunity all in the month of April to highlight jazz and how it developed and some musicians in jazz. And all year long, my students have been learning about these different musicians, so why not bring a little bit of that content back and highlight more information about them. So some books that you might consider. And I actually just today made a whole Amazon ideas, a list of jazz books. And so if there's your favorite jazz book is not on that list, if you go and check out that list and you don't see it, please let me know. Send me an email, send me a message, and be like, hey, do you know this book? I found 2 or 3 today that I had never heard of before, that I'm really excited are on that Amazon page, and that's in the links page if you want to go to find all those books. But all jazz books, it's a whole list. There's some really cool things there. I'm still adding, like I said, started today. But here are just some of the books that are there on that list that you might consider. Okay, so there's some musician profile books, some really cool ones like Before John Was a Jazz Giant. I shared about this before earlier this year. And one of the things about some of these books is yes, I've read these to kids already. Why bring them out and put them in the window? Why put them out on my bookshelf? Why highlight them again? Because I do have the window into my room from the hallway into my music room. There's this little shelf that I set books there, so as kids are walking by to PE or going to after school program, whatever, they can see the books sitting there in the room. Why do I put them out? Well, we've already read them in some grades, but not all. So it's cool for kids to see those books. And kids who have already read them, they're like, hey, Before John Was a Jazz Giant, I remember that one. And so it's fun for them to see that again, and it reminds them of things, it highlights their memory. So it's worth putting it out for them to see again. Anyway, even if you already read it, it's a cool callback. It's great to have that out. So some of those books that are biography books that I've already maybe talked about this year to y'all, but definitely to my students. Before John Was a Jazz Giant is a great one, The Story of John Coltrane. This is by Carol Boston Weatherford. Another one that I've read recently to my kids, Ella, Queen of Jazz. I did, this is by Helen Hancock. I even have a sub-tub resource for this that's brand new. It's a book companion is what it's called in my Teachers Pay Teacher store. Super fun book that you can use in class with different grades or for a sub. It's in my sub-tub. What's another one that I've read recently to them? I think. Oh yeah, here are a couple more biography books. Charlie Parker Played Bebop. This is a really cool book. There's a fun, like you can line it up with Night in Tunisia. There's a cool read aloud version online. This is by Chris Rashka, who today, as I was looking up jazz books, has like 4 or 5 others that are really cool that you can find online. And I put on that Amazon list today. So I don't have those books because I just found out about them today, but some super cool ones. You might have to dig for some of them because I think some of them are out of print, but worth looking up. Here's another great one. This is called Dizzy, about the Dizzy Gillespie. This is by Jonah Winter, illustrated by Sean Qualls. This is another great one that I share with kids throughout the year, but I just pull out and have highlighted or share with different grades again during Jazz History Month. And then there's another one that I shared. I've shared this one before too, called Swing Sisters. This is a story of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm. So the thing about jazz, which I think is tricky if you're going to focus on jazz for Jazz History Month, jazz is a lot of different genres, or influences lots of genres, or is influenced by different genres. So my thought is, in Jazz History Month, when you're talking about that, the development of jazz and how jazz influence or jazz musicians are influenced, like bring in all these styles. So swing is a great one to talk about. This is an especially interesting story. Super cool book. I know I've shared about it before, so I'm not going to read into it, but you can find that on the links page if you want to look at that one. Another one that if you just want to like have another book that maybe you already have and bring it back out, this one called We Are Music is a really cool book. The companion book to this one is Music Is. This is by Brandon Stossy, and in this book it talks about how we are connected to music and how how music what's the word I'm trying to think of, like how we're influenced by it, how we influence it, how we are related to music. And there are some great moments in here where it talks about jazz and bebop, samba, things that are connected to jazz. So even though it's not necessarily jazz specific, this is a great one to read maybe to your younger grades if you're talking about a jazz musician or highlighting jazz and how it's sort of related. Another one that's not jazz specific is this one called I See the Rhythm, I See the Rhythm. And this one is, honestly, it's less about jazz specifically, but like black music and how it's influenced a whole genre of styles. It talks about jazz, it talks about swing, it talks about gospel, and so it's just really beautiful, talking, influences from Africa, slave songs. It talks about the birth of the blues, talks about ragtime, and just beautiful, beautiful pictures. And on this side, it has lots of good information that gives a good framework is the word I'm sort of looking for. So even though it's not just jazz, it does talk about jazz beginnings, how it started. It talks about New Orleans, talks about the influences, and what's really cool. So like on this page, just on its own, right? It's like beginnings of jazz. So it has this great picture here. On this side, it says jazz beginnings. I see the rhythm of jazz in the streets of New Orleans, where West Indian drummers catch up with the ragtime piano players and banjo-picking blues singers, where the Dixieland sounds and marching brass bands celebrate both fish fries and funerals, where men who sell coal or rags by day turn into cornet players at night, and where children surrounded by music making their living singing in the streets. I hear the slow, sad wails of funeral parade trombones becoming jubilant dance music, and from the balconies of Storyville I watch the birth of jazz. And then here it gives like a timeline. 1895, Charles Buddy Bolden's band is one of the first to play jazz in New Orleans. Night Show 1, Louis Satchmo Armstrong is born in New Orleans after living in poverty. It just goes through and gives this great timeline. So like some facts, some history, some culture, some immersion. And so it's super, super cool. Ooh, love this one. Tribute to the Women of Jazz. Talks all about that. So it's a great book, even though it does go into other things like rock and roll. It goes into funk. It goes into hip hop. It does give a great framework. So totally a great book worth having. This is I See the Rhythm by Michelle Wood and Tuyomi Igus. I don't think I'm saying that right, but it won a Coretta Scott King Award. So super great book. I got this one used. Go to those used books websites. I don't care if it has this old barcode on it. Doesn't bother me. It's still a great book in great condition. Two more books you might consider getting for Jazz History Month. Jazz on a Saturday Night. This one's a staple. You can find it pretty much all over. This is a fun one, especially for just giving a good sort of sort of a framework, and it talks about a bunch of different artists. Gives these really, really gorgeous photographs. Might be better for younger grade. I don't know. It depends on who you're talking with Jazz about and how in depth you get. But it's sort of a great book to start with to spark a conversation. It comes with a CD in the back, which includes information about jazz and the instruments of the book. Is it a CD-ROM? No, sorry, I haven't pulled that one out yet. It's a regular CD, so you can use it. And then one more, which is new to me this year, but is not new. It's been around for a long time. But this one called J is for Jazz, and it's an alphabet book, so on each page it talks about a different element. A is for America's music. It absentatively begins with African American rhythms and how. B is for blues in the heart of jazz. Its sad, simple sound helped give jazz its flavor. Some of the best jazz cats have been hip to the blues. C is for Count Basie, the jazz pianist and songwriter. The Count said, if you play a tune and a person don't tap their feet, don't play the tune. But it goes through on each one, and the letter is highlighted in sort of cool ways. I love the E of Ella Fitzgerald in her microphone. But it's just a really cool book, and kindergarten and first grade and second grade, they love their alphabet books. So super great book to include. Okay, those are all books. Like I said, they're all on an Amazon page where I've shared sort of a whole just myriad of books that are jazz oriented or jazz related or jazz adjacent. If you go to that list and you're like, I don't see my favorite book on there, please send me a message and I will add it. Like I said, I started that list today. So I'm still adding, still trying to find great books to add in there. I'm sure there are some that I've missed completely, but there are some new ones to me that I found as I was searching today. So cool things there. I have a bulletin board set that I know I've shared about before, but I'm using it in sort of a different way than I have in the past, so I wanted to talk about that. So this book, the bulletin board set is called Legends of Jazz, and it's got... trying to find if I printed out the main page. Nope. Okay, so it's got basically different profiles of jazz musicians. So John Coltrane, a photo, his birth and death, and then a little bio about him. Billie Holiday. I sort of love that blue color in the background. I don't know, it just seemed to be perfect with her profile. Bessie Smith. Let's see what we've got here. Ella Fitzgerald. Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Charles Mingus, Ray Charles. So it goes through and on each one talks a little bit about them, gives their dates, or if they're still alive, and a profile. What I've done in the past is I've hung all of them out in the hallway. But right now I'm doing like the musicians of the month. So like there's this bulletin board set I'm using now called Applause for April, where it has 30 different musicians, all different styles, all different genres, musicians who were born in April. And I kept that set up because I did it in January, and then I did it in February, I did it in March, and now I'm doing it in April, I'm going to do it in May, where it just focuses on musicians who were born that month. So that bulletin board space is just sort of dedicated to that same thing every month, where I switch it out every month. This bulletin board set I wanted to put up, but I didn't really have space for it. So instead, like I said, I have that that window from the hallway into the music room, and I'm setting jazz books there, and I put the word jazz Jazz History Month in the window with die cut letters. Well, every day I'm taking one of these profiles and I'm just switching it out every day. So one day it'll be Dave Brubeck, and the next day it'll be Benny Goodman, and the next day it'll be Jelly Roll Morton. Sorry, can't talk today. And so each day it'll be somebody different. If kids see it, cool. If they miss a profile one day, okay. But it's just something to get them to keep looking, to keep thinking, to keep talking about it. And then there is this title page that says Legends of Jazz. And it says, jazz is the quintessential American musical genre. Jazz originated in New Orleans around 1900 and is characterized by improvisation, distinctive tone colors, performance techniques, and dotted or syncopated rhythmic patterns. The profiles you see here are only a handful of the many musicians who helped to shape the jazz style. this is not so much for kids. This is for parents or adults or administrators who walk by, but it's good to give context. I once had an administrator who was like, if you don't give a blurb that like explains to parents or gives context, like you're missing out on an opportunity to not, I mean, it's cool that you're, showing off student work or showing cool new information or whatever, but if you're not giving that context, like you're missing an opportunity to educate. So I always try and have something on here that maybe isn't necessarily just worded for kids, and that's okay. Because a bulletin board serves a lot of different purposes. It's not just for students, it's for a whole group of people. I see the kids, the high schoolers who do our after school program stop and look at the bulletin boards. I mean, you're educating your whole community. So it's worth putting that out. That's called Legends of Jazz. It's in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. It's on sale tomorrow with everything else on Teachers Pay Teachers for the TPT sale. Okay, that was all about jazz. Whew, moving on. We're talking today about kindergarten. And I am on a 5-day rotation where I see students every day for 50 minutes for 5 days, and then they're off for like 5 weeks, which is a COVID thing. We'll go back to normal hopefully next year. Which is like an every other day for 30 minutes. But let's talk about what we're doing in kindergarten. For me, kindergarten is one of the hardest grades this year to teach. In a normal year, in another year, it's one of my favorite grades to teach. This year, not so much, because we can't move. We can't sing. We can't do our normal games. There's so much we can't do, which is so frustrating. Because that's like kindergarten is like, ooh, we're constantly moving, we're constantly going to a new place, we're constantly trying things out, and it's all about like teaching social skills and teaching kids to work together and singing and having fun. And this year it's like, okay, and we're sitting in our spot, we're standing up in our spot, we're sitting down in our spot, we're moving around our spot, but then we're still in our spot. And I just don't feel the spark of excitement that I do in so many other grades. So this has been like I'm working on it grade for the year. So I wanted to share some of the stuff that I'm doing in this rotation to give you an idea of what I've sort of come up with, and then also like, please comment with your ideas, because kindergarten is like where I'm struggling right now, just because we can't do all those things that we normally do. Okay, when kids come in, we get to go right to our favorite puppet, Tabby. And this week, Tabby is sitting in a bucket because Tabby's sitting in a bucket because she has an exciting new instrument. And I shared about this like 4 weeks ago or something, but I wanted to show you how I'm using it now. So Tabby's excited to share about a brand new instrument. Oh my gosh, it's the best instrument ever! But I will tell you about it in just a second. First, we must do the poem. And the poem, I've talked about this probably 50 times on this video, on this podcast. But it goes like this. It goes, copycat, copycat, 1, 2, 3. Do what I do after me. Anything I do, you do the same. That's how you play the copycat game. And normally then I would break in Mr. Rao, the teacher, and I would clap, and kids would repeat. I would clap, they would clap, I would clap, they would clap. But this week, Tabby's decided she's in charge. I will do the clapping, okay? So here I go. I'm sorry, Tabby, I couldn't hear that. Can you try it again? Oh, Tabby, I can't hear that. I know the fan's going or whatever, but I can't. Can you try it one more time? Maybe a little louder. I am trying as hard as I can. It's not working. Why can't we hear? And then we talk to the kids, why can't we hear Tabby's clapping? Why can't we hear Tabby's clapping? And we determine that it's because her paws are so soft and she has fur that like you can't hear what she's clapping. Ha ha! Luckily, I have a way to get around this. Okay, so here's what we do. Now, I've got my special brand new instrument called my drinker. And she goes into the bucket and she pulls out the shaker. I talked about this several weeks ago. It's called, I'm trying to think of what it is from the West Music website. Luminote. Luminote is the brand, and they call it like a plastic drum shaker. I have it linked on the links page. Anyway, comes in 4 different colors, green, blue, red, and yellow. I have 3 of them, green, blue, and red, and they're amazing. And so what it does, basically, in case you didn't see me talk about it last time, it's a shaker. And then it does have these little like drum heads on them. So if you shake it, it'll change the sound by if you put a finger down. If you put 2 fingers down. So I have a finger on both sides. If I pull up one, it's a different sound. So it's multiple different sounds, which is cool. You can also play it You can tap it, and it's sort of a drum and a shaker. And so in one of my grades, we decided we're going to call it a draker. Because it is a drum shaker, so we call it a draker. Okay, so anyway, so Tabby, because we can't hear her clapping, but if I clap the draker, you can. And then the kids copy that, and that is literally me just tapping the draker with Tabby's paw. My pinky finger is getting an amazing workout in this photo. Anyway, so we go back and forth, and then she does an example, they clap. She does an example, they clap. 4 of those, and we do the poem again, and then we go, okay, Tabby, can you pat? Okay, here I go. Sorry, Tabby, I can't hear that. Try again. Can't hear that. Try once more. We can't hear that. And we determined again that yes, her paws are too soft, her fur is too soft, we can't hear that. So instead we get out the draker. Yeah, and then they clap back and forth. That's what I told you about a couple weeks ago, the same sort of process. But it has developed because I keep this little drum on my lap. And if you're like, I know that bucket because it comes from the Dollar Tree. Yes, indeed. Bright green, lime green Dollar Tree bucket. So anyway, it sits on my lap, and all I tell them is that Tabby has a draker. Now, I was told this draker was magical. It is magic. That's what, when they sold it to me, they told it was magic. And I don't know why magic. Maybe because it can shake and you can play it like a drum. That is pretty magical. But anyway, it's magic, or so I am told. So anyway, love it. Brand new instrument. So when she's patting, one time she gets really too into it. And she knocks the draker into the bucket. Whoops. And so then she goes to get the draker, and she pulls out, and then we just keep going on. I ignore the fact that the draker is changed color. I don't talk about it. I just let the kids sort of eventually figure it out. We do 3 or 4 back and forth, and eventually, Tabby's like, and watch this. This is so cool. Woo, didn't they make a fun sound? Ha ha. And then she goes back in and pulls out the other color. So it's switching back from green to blue to green to blue. Because I'm dropping one in the bucket where the kids can't see, and then I pull another one. Some of the kids are get wise to this really fast. They're like, you got other drakers in there. I'm like, oh, do I? Are you positive? No, you're not. Okay, so let's go. So anyway, back and forth with the draker, which is really fun. On the second day, we go back and forth. The draker drop in, and then Tabby pulls out a red draker. So then the draker's changing it to another color. So it's like on the second or third day, we introduce that other color. But we just do back and forth. Kids at this point are usually like, it's a different color, it's a different color. And I play dumb. I'm like, no, it's black right here. See, that's black. It's always black. And anyway, so then they're like, no, the other color. I'm like, oh, well, no, this is black too. And they're like, no, not that part. I'm like, oh, this part, that's also black. They're like, anyway. So then I play with them, and they get me to realize, oh, it's green, it's blue, it's red, it's changing colors. That's super fun. Tabby has got some tricks up her sleeve. Oh, that worked not well at all. Okay, I've actually gotten really good about throwing the draker and having Tabby catch it. Obviously, I can't do it on camera. There. Okay. Woo! I guess the blue one's the one that works. All right. So anyway, Tabby's gotten really good. By Tabby, I mean me. Tabby has gotten really good at that. My favorite part is that on like day 4 or day 5, I bring in another puppet. I have a squirrel puppet, and Tabby tells the squirrel all about the draker and how magical it is, and she drops it in, and then Tabby pulls out one draker, and the squirrel pulls out another draker, and they're 2 green drakers, which then that blows the kids' mind. Because they're like, they're smart, they want a draker in there, but they don't know that they're 2, because I have 2 green. Oh, that just... it throws them into an uproar. So anyway, it's a very fun time with Tabby, and it's just a back and forth. But the cool thing about it is it's another way to do that echo pattern, because echoing is so cool to get in their head. It's so important to get in their head these patterns, to get them to be able to reiterate those patterns, to do them in different ways, to like use the stimulus of this sound of the puppet doing it with an instrument to switch it in their head to clapping or patting. That's a critical skill, the transfer of knowledge from like what they hear from an instrument to then be able to do it clapping and patting. So for instance, Tabby will say, when it's up here you clap, when it's down here you pat. And so it's getting them to take that information of like, if he's playing it higher, it's a clap. If they're playing it lower, it's a pat, which translates to, clapping is higher in your body, patting is lower in your body, which eventually will translate to, on a body percussion staff, the clapping line is higher than the patting line. I mean, it's all connected, But this is just another step in that, like getting them to echo, getting them to make those connections and use body percussion in this new way. Also, it's just fun to mess with their heads. Okay, so then kindergarten, we started Solfege this week, where we do echo patterns of so and me, and I've got my little hand signs that go up on the board. Okay, so I've got so and me right here. This is from a set I have on Teachers Pay Teachers called Music Dots. So and me are there. We pull those out and we use those, but then they're interspersed with all these other hand signs. And I tried to make sure that, when I was printing out, I was getting different skin tones so that kids can, see themselves represented even in just the clip art of just the solfege. So all of this is up on the board together, but we pull out just so and me for this so that they focus on just those two. And I talked about a couple weeks ago how we did so and me, or how we're doing solfege sort of in this beginning stage. Pro tip, so at the end of like a calendar year, or even like the end of a school year, a lot of people have these little magnetic calendar things that are useless at the end of, a calendar year, the end of a school year, when it's like the different calendar schedule, whatever. I ask for these from everyone I can find or ask, and then these are amazing for something like this, which is just a manipulative up on the board. You can cut this like free magnetic strip and just double stick tape it to the back of your solfege, and then it's just so easy to move around on your whiteboard. And it's super light because these are not, they're not heavy, they're not crazy, so it's super light, easy to move and manipulate, and free. So that's what I use with my solfege signs. These ones are newly printed out. My old ones just got ratty and sad. So I have yet to put the magnets on these ones, but they're going up real soon. So it's fun to have these out there just as a reference point on the board. Even though if we're doing so and me, we're like they're seeing me do it, it's good for them to see another way, like another version of it, a clip art, or to see the words written out, because some kids are visual learners. Some kids need to see me do it. Some kids need to physically do it. Some kids need to say it. Some kids need to read it. It's different for everyone. So having another way for them to access this information up on the board is great. And the dots are colorful and the hands are fun. And anyway, so this is from a set called Music Dots that I have on Teachers Pay Teachers, which is going to be on sale tomorrow from the TBT sale. Okay, so we do solfege, we do a little bit of echo padding, and then we jump into, usually, it depends on the day, usually our book of the day. And I'm so excited about the books that I get to share this week with kids, because I have some really sort of special books to share. They're all sort of on, well, they're different depending on the day. A couple of them are sort of linked together, but not all. So I might have shared before that, like, when I'm sharing a book with kids this year, in previous years, I'd sit down on my reading chair and I'd have them all scoot up, we'd read, and it's a great fun group experience. Can't do that this year. So this year I'm using technology to my advantage, and I'm either using like a document camera where I have like the project, I can project up what I'm holding down on a table, I can point things out, and that immediately is shown up on the digital screen, right, or the projector or whatever. So a document camera is great. Also, often I will pre-record myself reading the book. So like here at home on my desk, I'll set the book out. I've got this little swing arm like thing that people, it's like a phone holder, but that people use for like baking videos. So it's made to like shoot straight down on the counter. So I've got, I connect that to my desk, and I like just take a video of me reading, and I use my phone. It's easy to then like airdrop that video to my computer or whatever. But I just read it here at home. I read through it. I only do that for books that like I own. I'm not sharing it on YouTube. I'm not sharing it with the world. It's books that I own. I'm pre-recording myself reading for just the kids in my classroom. I don't feel like that's a violation of copyright. If you're a copyright lawyer out there and you disagree, please let me know. But it's my book that I own. I'm just sharing it with my kids. I'm not distributing it. It's just a way that like kids can see the pictures without like, let's all scoot together. Because COVID, you can't really do that. And so it's just a way for them to see the photo bigger and to actually all access that book. But also this year, I've been looking for read-alouds online, and I found some really cool ones. So this book, the book of the day for the first day in the rotation is Dolly Parton's book, Coat of Many Colors. Sorry, not her book. Her song, which was turned into a book. There are like a couple different versions of this. I have 2 of them. I like this one better. This is the illustrations by Brooke Boynton Hughes. The other one is an older book, and I just don't like the illustrations as much. So I use this book instead. And it just follows the song Coat of Many Colors by Dolly Parton, and gives a photo for each page. So back through the years, I go wandering once again. It's a little photo of a scrapbook. Back to the season of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us and how my mama put those rags to use. So it just shows their little Tennessee mountain home and how her mom takes those rags and turns it into this coat for her, for Dolly to wear. So it's just a fun little book with beautiful pictures. The story, that Dolly wears the coat to school and she's so proud of it because her mama made it for her, and the other kids make fun of her because she's poor and she has this coat made out of rags. But she says, what's the line? And I couldn't understand, for I felt I was rich, and I told them of the love my mama sewed in every stitch. I told them all the story my mama told me when she sewed, and how my coat of many colors was worth more than all their clothes. So just a book that matches the song, right? It just goes along with the song. Now what you could do is you could play Dolly's song, like play her singing while you show the book, right? That'd be a super easy thing to do. I'm so excited about this. I found a video of Dolly Parton reading this book. I wish it were a video of Dolly Parton singing the song while she was showing this book, but it's not. It's her reading. Okay, fine, Dolly, you do what you want. But it's she made it for her Imagination Library, which is the charitable foundation she runs or is part of, that gives hundreds of thousands of books away. And so there's this video for her YouTube page of her reading the book, and it's like a nighttime series or something, like a bedtime story series. So she's sitting in her bed in her pajamas with like her reading glasses on, reading this book. Super cute. I show that to my students, and then I either show the book again on the document camera with her song playing in the background. You can find some other versions online of the song with images and stuff, but I try and keep it connected to the book. But it's super cool that like Dolly is there sharing about the book, and then sharing the book and talking about the song she wrote. So super cool connection. There's another book coming up with a similar story. So in this first day, we read Coat of Many Colors, we do our book of the day, and then we rumble on to a song, because we talk about Dolly lived on that little farm. In the picture, you can sort of see a little barnyard or whatever, and we talk about someone else who lived on a farm and who had a little farm animal, and it was this girl named Mary. And Mary had this little lamb. This lamb's so cute. And there's even a song about Mary and this little lamb, because Mary loved the lamb so much. And then the lamb loved her, and they were best of friends. Sometimes my best friend when I was little was my dog, and so I can understand how Mary would fall in love with this little sheep. A baby sheep's called a lamb, like a little kid sheep's called a lamb. So anyway, so the lamb, I always try and give context like that. So because not every kid knows like ewe or ram or lamb or sheep. They don't know the connections there. So sort of peppering those in is great in your lesson. So I'm very minimal singing in my class, like less than about a minute with class, just because we don't know what singing will do it's not completely known, and every class is different, what with ventilation and whatever. So I'm very blessed that we have an air purifier in the music classroom, so I feel a little bit better about it, but I still keep the singing to a minimum. But I sing, Mary had a little lamb. I sing actually the whole story, and we talk through like what happens, so Mary has her little lamb fleece as white as snow, and we talk about how the lamb follows her and all of that. I go through that whole story because in the following days, we're going to sort of recap and change that story. So I wanted to talk about it here. A couple things that I do with Mary Had a Little Lamb, I always make sure that I talk about what a fleece is, because kids don't know that word. Most kids don't know that word. And then we also talk about white as snow. It does not mean it actually is snow. It's just like snow is so white. Well, the fleece, the wool is so, so we talk a little bit. I don't go into like metaphor, simile, like I don't do that with kindergarten, but we do talk about how it's sort of a connection. And then of course I have to be a little silly. So as we sang it through, they learn it. Say, oh, let's sing it one more time. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as marshmallow. No. Sorry, what? No, not marshmallow. Snow. Oh, sorry. And we sing it again. Mary had a little whose fleece was white as a pillow. No, not a pillow. Snow. Oh, sorry. Okay. So anyway, I just, silly. And then we could also do, everywhere that Mary went, Mary went, Mary went. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. It followed her to the library. No. Oh, sorry. It followed her to the swimming pool. Now, you can change those parts of the song. Well, if she did go to the swimming pool, it'd probably follow her, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, you can change things out if you want with the song. Once you got the sort of baseline of what the song is, then you can change things out. Having a puppet, of course, just makes it even more exciting because the puppet can then refute what you're saying or affirm what you're saying. It can be a part of the conversation and make the story a little bit more exciting. This puppet is a Folkmanis puppet, which that's the brand that makes this specific puppet. I like this puppet because it has a lot of character. It's fun, woolly. What I always seem to forget, except for inopportune times, is that this one has something inside it to make a sound. So if you squeeze it, it makes that sound, which is fine. I sometimes use that with classes, not so much, but sometimes, talking about the sound that a sheep makes. Is that similar? Is it not? Is bah actually the sound a sheep makes? It's not. So, it's more like a mrrr. So this is actually pretty close. But I always seem to forget that this sheep has that noisemaker inside it until it's like uber quiet at the end of the school day. Like this happened to me once. Super quiet in my classroom. At the end of the day, sometimes you're like, I just need quiet. Well, that's what I needed. I was like quickly trying to put things away before I had crosswalk duty or whatever. I grabbed this puppet and 3 other things and I put it under my arm and I go, and it makes that sound and I nearly wet myself because I was like, I forgot that it had done that. Anyway, if you get this puppet, it's cool. It's worth it. It's a great puppet. But just be aware that that's in there. Folkmanis does make a couple other puppets. There's one with like a white face. There's one with something else. There's like a lamb if you want to go specific like that. But I think this one is my favorite. I think it's called the Bleating Sheep. Anyway, we do Mary Had a Little Lamb. We talk a little bit about that. And then at the end of the day, we end up with our beat buddies who are little beanie babies. And I talked about this several weeks ago, what we do with our beat buddies, but we help them to keep the steady beat. We'll pat them to the steady beat. We'll flap their wings to the steady beat. They're going to come back a little later this week, but it ends with us all having beat buddies. Then, there's one more thing that happens in this first lesson. There's a video. You try and pack a lot of things in a lesson. There's a video by a band called Mates of State. And in the video is this like constant, consistent, amazing, steady beat on a drum, like a snare drum. And it is a super fun music video. Like the 2 singers of Mates of State are sitting in this basically like I don't know, the story is weird to the backstory of the video, but they're like sitting in this like boutique like clothing store, and as they're singing a song, they are slowly covered up by ball pit balls through the video. It sounds like what? Why? Crazy. But anyway, the kids are fascinated by it. They love watching it. It is an amazing example of a steady beat. And then also in the video, so there's a drummer, and then that's the male singer, and then the female singer is sitting playing a piano and also a glockenspiel. It's amazing. So she has like a piano keyboard down here and a glockenspiel up here, and she plays the piano. It's a cool little video. I'll try and link that on the links page. But Mates of State, the song is called My Only Offer. And usually we do our beat buddies for like 5 to 10 minutes, all different sorts of stuff with them, keeping the steady beat. And then I say, I had this great example of a steady beat in a video I just want to show you. And it's cool because it focuses them right before we let them out of class. it brings their attention, it calms them down a little bit, and also they're like riveted. And if at some point you want to be like, hey, why don't you pat your knees to the steady beat, they are right on, because it is so perfect and steady. There's like one part where it cuts out in the middle, and so then they're like, where'd the steady beat go? But it is just like, it's not like overwhelming, but it is right there the whole time. So super great example video. I will put that on the links page. Day 2, the kids come back, Draker, Tabby, we do solfege, we do all of that. Our book of the day on the second day is one I've talked about this year, Mary Had a Little Glam, which if you know Mary Had a Little Lamb, this one's fun because Mary, this girl, is about to go to school and she wants to look glamorous. And so again, we can talk... Yesterday, when we were doing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I'm talking about fleece as white as a pillow, fleece as white as a marshmallow. Why did I get off? Because I was rhyming. Well, this book has lots of other words that rhyme, and instead of Mary Had a Little Lamb, it's another one that rhymes. Mary Had a Little Glam for being glamorous. But it's just a cute little story about how she likes to add and have glamorous clothes, and the poor kids in her class are not glamorous. They're boring and drab. Little Boy Blue and Georgie Porgy and Little Bo Peep. So she makes them more glamorous. She gives them like a boa and sparkles and a hat and all sorts of stuff. Super cute little song. That's our book of the day. We go on. We do this day on the second day, we rehash Mary Had a Little Lamb. After reading Mary Had a Little Glam, we rehash. We talk about other places she could go if she were to go, and where the lamb would follow her, if the lamb would follow her. And then in each place we find someone who sort of reprimands her. So like it follows her to the library, but it can't go into the library, and the librarian is, like, it's against the rules. And then the next, we'll go to the pool, and the lifeguard will say, like, you can't come in here, it's against the rules. Or we'll go to the grocery store, and the manager will, because it's we're setting up or remembering the teacher in the original song says, you can't come to school, makes the children laugh and play, etc., etc. But at each new place you go to, you can find another person who's like, mm-mm. And it's fun. It's fun for the kids to come up with new places for you to add into the song. It's fun to sort of make that new connection. It's fun to like find, that authority figure in each place. So you're getting kids to access their schema and think like, okay, well, if we went to the baseball field, who would be the person to say, no, the lamb can't be here? The umpire, the coach, you can come up with some really cool things. That might be a lesson you want to do more in like a first or second grade, but it works okay with kindergarten. It's pretty fun. And then at the end of the day, to keep the steady beat, because there's like a theme this whole week of like we're working on our steady beat. Instead of doing our beat buddies today, we got our magical snowballs, which are pieces of crumpled up paper. And I am legit the whole time like, I have these magic snowballs, and they are amazing. You can smash them, you can crumple them, you can do all sorts of stuff. And then I pull out a piece of crumpled up paper. I'm like, isn't it amazing? And the kids are like, that is not snow, that's paper. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's magic snow. Okay, tap the magic snow. And like I just go on like it is a magic snowball. And the kids, there's one kid who the whole time was like unfolded and like, I see words here. I'm like, what? But I just raid my recycle bin and I pull out these snowballs. And if you just go with it, some kids are like, okay, it's a snowball. And other kids are like, it's not a snowball, but humor him. Anyway, it's a fun little additional lesson. And sometimes with these, depending on what you want to do with it, we tap the snowballs, we pass the snowballs back and forth, we bounce the snowballs on our knees, and a lot of times I'll pull out a recording from Spotify or whatever of a song with a steady beat, and we'll pat along, we'll tap along, we'll pat the snowball on our head. And the great thing about using these magic snowballs is you can throw them away when you're done, right? If you're worried about COVID or any kind of germs, kids sneezes on it, gross, throw that one away. But also it's free, so like, fine, I have to throw it away, no big deal. And the third day, we do, Tabby comes in, we do the Draker, we do the solfege, and then we do the book, Maria Had a Little Llama. And I've shared about this one before, but the cool thing I found about this one, so this one's another one in English and Spanish. This is written by Angela Dominguez. This one is bilingual. So on the first page, Mary had a little lamb. Maria tenía un llamita, whose fleece was white as snow, cuya lana era tan blanca como la nieve. So I am not a Spanish native, obviously. I always try my best if I'm reading it to students. The cool thing I found about this book is I found a video of the author reading it. And it's like a true read aloud because it's for like a read aloud book series. And so there's like a host who sits down with the author and he like peppers in all these questions like I would do if I were there. Like he was a teacher in a previous life or is a teacher, I don't know. But I linked that on the links page. But what's cool is like on every few pages he goes like, oh, is that a map in the illustrations? And the author's like, yeah, it's a map of Peru. Oh, really? That's cool. And the author's like, yeah, because this book is set in Peru. And the little girl, Maria, and her llama, they live in Peru. And so as the story goes on, you know, the person sitting in on that read aloud is like, oh, what's that? And the author's like, it's the escuela, the school. And he's like, oh, and what's in the background? Oh, it's a church. And what's the word for church in Spanish? Iglesia. And so it's fun. Like it asks all those questions I would want to ask. So I think it's a great read aloud video. And again, super special that like it's the actual author reading her book. And it's cool to see that. And then you can always go back like with a document camera and sing the new version. You can sing through it with the song, but it's another cool, just sort of a connection to get kids to take that idea of that original song and stretch their understanding and stretch their schema and like rethink or replace the song. This is a classical critical thing where they're transferring the information from like one locale, one setting to another and having to like translate all those ideas in their head from one specific setting to another. So super cool version. Maria Had a Little Llama by Angela Dominguez. And that's on the links page if you're interested. And then after that, we might rehash a little Mary Had a Little Lamb if we have time. And then today, instead of doing Beat Buddies, instead of doing the magical snowballs, we get eggs. And we get to try and keep the steady beat with our eggs. This is tricky because if you have your downbeat, and then anytime you bring the egg back up, you get an upbeat sound. So it's like, how do you keep the steady beat when you have that dun 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 dun? It's interesting for kids. It's hard for them to do. Some of them to wrap their mind around it. Some kids are like, whatever, I got it. But for other kids, it's like a great experience to have with them to get them to like feel and see and try and keep that steady beat. A couple things I do with the eggs anytime doing a steady beat with eggs is you take the egg and you can shake it, sure. You can also tap it. You can try and clap it. You can pat it on your head. You can move it anywhere you want. You can go back and forth. You can pass it. I mean, there are a lot of things you could do with the egg. But it makes it really interesting because the tactile experience of the egg and then also the contents inside moving at a different speed or what, like it just throws some kids off and it creates fun challenges. Not like too difficult, but like fun, exciting challenges. I'll tell you, whatever egg shaker you have is a great egg shaker. I have like 5 different brands in just my one classroom that apparently the people before me have just like bought in waves. So I've got a ton of these little blue Remo ones. These are great. These are like heavy. I have some of these Jim Dunlop ones that are like sort of fun and like sort of see-through-y, which is sort of that's super fun for kids. They're like, what's in there? I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? So that's fun. I've been buying these basic beat ones. They're really great value price. The colors are great. They're in good condition. The Remo ones are really nice. I'm trying to think of the other brand that I've had in the past that's like super standard. I can't think of the other one. Ooh, and then I have if I really want to get them excited, I have like a big egg, and it's not that much bigger. It is bigger, not that much. There's like a Remo one that's like really big. It's like $10 for one egg shaker, but it's like really big. I really need to get one of those. This one's like moderately larger. I think this was like, you have like $5 at the end of an order on a PO or something. You get to spend $5 more. And I'm like, what can I get? And so it said like big egg in the West Music catalog. And I was like, that. And it's not that big. But it's still fun to have and to compare with your other eggs. So that's that day. And the next day, we get to do one of my favorite books. Kids come in, we talk to Tabby, we do our solfege, we do a little bit of body percussion. By this point, Tabby has added stomping with patting and clapping. Cool. Our book of the day today is this book that I've shared maybe not this year, maybe last year, maybe the year before, called C'est Zoop by Hervé Toulet. And this, you might recognize, there are other books like this one called Press Here, or Mix It Up, or Let's Play. But this is my favorite of his books and his book series. And I do this one on a document camera. I do not pre-record this because I want them to do things in real time. So let me just show you just a couple pages of this one. I know I've shared about this one before, but hi. Are you really sure you want to play? Great. Put your finger on the dot and say "oh." And so I have this under a document camera, so anytime I touch it, they get to say "oh." It's made for like one person reading, but it works really well actually with me doing it in front of the class. Oh. Oh. I don't just do it once. I'm like, "Oh, let's do it again." Oh. Oh. Well done. Okay, and I do not read these things verbatim because I have to adapt it to work for a full class. Well done. Now put your finger on the little dot and say little O. Oh. Oh. And then you put your finger on the big dot and say a big O. Oh! You know, there's that one kid who always is going to shout it, but I always try and see how else we do. Oh! 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 You know, so it's fun to do sort of back and forth. And then it does like patterns, short and long, or sorry, short to big, or small to big. And then it goes really small sound to big sound. It does the inverse of that. You can count with O's. I mean, you can sort of imagine other things you can do with this. This is more of like a tempo, because it's like, if your finger is moving at the same velocity, then it's going to sound like it's going faster because they're closer together. That's a fun one. Ooh, lots of little O's. I love doing like, ooh, 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 ooh. You know, like there's some cool things you can do. A long sound. But what I love about this book is that like it takes that idea of the O sound and it runs wild with it before it adds something else. It's like it's just good scaffolding. So I love this book. You can go up and down with your O's. So you can pop O's. That's fun. Like bubbles of fish. This one's fun because it's like snow. So it's oh. So you gotta shake the book a little bit, and then it's crying. Oh, that's a fun one. And then you meet a new friend. Ah. So So now kids, now we do lots more exploring. But if you touch the blue, you have to say oh. If you touch the red, you have to say ah. So it's just like a fun, like, ooh, there's so much you can do with it. By the time you're done, there are 3 colors, and then the 3 colors get really wild, and they start mixing up other colors. And you could imagine what other colors would sound like, what other colors would do. There's just pages and pages and pages and pages of like cool exploration. So a fun vocal exploration. I think this book is like especially good for like trying to get kids to understand the connection between written notation or icons and sounds. Understanding high and low or spacing of things, or it's just like not necessarily musical at all, but there are so many musical things you can do with it and connections you can make that are amazingly valuable. So I do this one every year with kindergarten. It's one that I used to do as we were all grouped together, you know, in front of the reading chair. And now I do under the document camera. It's still super accessible. It's still a great book. Okay, and we do, we have a little bit of a something sort of steady beat at the end. And on this day, you know, you could do sticks. I've done that sometimes where I take the sticks and we do steady beat, or we click, or find different ways to click, all sorts of stuff. You could also do a day, instead of sticks, you could hand out mallets. If you have mallets for kids, you could hand out 1 mallet and each could get 1. You could do 2. You could give kids. I've done all sorts of things like this where the kid has 1 mallet and we hold it, you know, like a mallet. And then we do other things like we flip it around, or we tap it, or we let the mallet tap our hand. You know, there are lots of things you can do with this just so that they get the understanding, the feeling of what a mallet is like and what they can do with it. You can pretend it's other things. It can be a wand. It could be a lollipop, except I'm not going to put it in their mouth. There's so many things you could do. I love handing them out 2 mallets, but 2 different mallets. So then they can explore different textures, different styles, see what things look like next to each other, feel how things are different. Actually, this is a chance for them to do all the things they want to do, like feel and squish and whatever, that they can't do if you're like actually trying to play one day. Like you don't have time for that when you're actually have the instrument in front of them. And so this is a chance for them to explore the mallet, understand the mallet, figure out how to hold the mallet, get used to that without the added craziness of an instrument there. Okay, and then the last day in the cycle, I'm going to get to it. We do, Tabby comes out, we do the thing with the 2 green drakers, we do stomp, we do pat, we do clap, and then also sometimes we'll do a little bit of snapping just to experience and try. We don't ever do too much with that in kindergarten, but we do a little bit of it. Our book of the day is Oh, A Hunting We Will Go. I'll tell you, I don't particularly like this book. I like the song. Just the kids, they like it, they're into it, but the illustrations are like older, and so they don't jump into it as much as they do some of these other brighter books. So if you have a better version of Oh, Hunting We Will Go that you like, or not better, sorry, I shouldn't qualify that. If you have a different version that you like better, or a more colorful one, or just an alternate one, I would love that recommendation. So shoot it my way. But Oh, A Hunting We Will Go by John Langstaff, pictures by Nancy Winslow Parker, and this is another one that I got. It's either like a hand-me-down or got it from a used book sale. And I pre-recorded myself singing this one. And again, it's one that you like get to talk about the rhyming, you get to talk about the connections. If you don't know it, oh, a hunting we will go, a hunting we will go. We'll catch a fox and put him in a box and then we'll let him go. Oh, a hunting we will go, a hunting we will go. We'll catch a lamb and put him in a pram and then we'll let him go. So it's another, I like bringing songs in like this because if I pre-record this, I can pre-record myself actually singing it. It's a well-known song, it's a fun song, it's a funny song. We spent a little bit of time after the song talking about animals and what rhymes and what could we do with them. So I try and have like a list of 4 or 5 animals that I know rhyme pretty easily, like a bear. You could put him in a chair, you could put him in underwear, you can comb his hair. So I try and we come up with a few different verses of our own that we come up with and sing just a few different ones after we've read through the book. And then with our remaining time, we go back to our beat buddies, and this day we do some of the things we've done before, the patting, the tapping, we clap their hands, and then we also perform for them, like we set them down on the ground, we clap for them, we pat on our knees, we show them a great steady beat. And this is the day that I pull out all of my songs that we can do steady beat to. So I have a whole playlist on Spotify of things that over the years I've just been like, this song, or Apple Music or whatever it is that's on my iPod at school. And we come up with different things. So a few of my favorites, the kids love the Cantina Band song from Star Wars. They love, there was one that came out with it was like an Angry Birds movie or something, and it was like an instrumental one. Kids love that. So they're just any song you want that you can pat or tap or move around to. There's a fun one from Wall-E. I can't think of the instrumental version. It just, over the years, anything that was has a good steady beat, I like to accumulate and put on a playlist that I can pull back later. So for this specific lesson, there are some songs with a great steady beat, easily identifiable steady beat that are slow beats. And there's some fast ones. There are some upbeat, downbeat, all different examples, just so kids can try out and use their beat buddy with that one more time. Okay, that's a lot about kindergarten and Jazz History Month all in one quick hour. But I hope this gave you some ideas of what you can take and use in kindergarten or any grade and sort of adapt and change. Things I would love from you, if you have, like I said at the beginning of the hour, if you have jazz history books or just any jazz-related books that you don't see on my book list, my jazz book list, which I just started today. If you don't see anything, send me a message. I would love to add those on there. Also, if you have a different version of A Hunting We Will Go that you just love, I want to hear about it. I think that's about it. And don't forget, there's a Teachers Pay Teachers sale starting tonight at midnight. So go get some resources on discount and get some things to help yourself through the end of this school year. Or maybe you're going to buy decor stuff to put up next year. I don't know. But just know that's coming up starting tonight at midnight in site-wide. So anyway, I hope that gives you some ideas for kindergarten. I hope to see you again next week for some more ideas for a different grade. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming along tonight.